Our second scripture reading comes from the prophet Habakkuk, the only time he appears in our common lectionary. Hear the word of the Lord. The prophecy that Habakkuk, the prophet, received. How long, Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Or cry out to you violence, but you do not save? Why do you make me look at injustice? Why do you tolerate wrongdoing? Destruction and violence are before me. There is strife and conflict abounds. Therefore the law is paralyzed, and justice never prevails. The wicked hem in the righteous, so that justice is perverted. I will stand in my watch and station myself on the ramparts. I will look to see what he will say to me, and what answer I am to give to this complaint. Then the Lord replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets, so that a herald may run with it. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. See, the enemy is puffed up. His desires are not upright, but the righteous person will live by his faithfulness. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
You ever notice nobody misses fall back, but they trip up and spring forward?
Yeah.
Back in '93, there was a movie called Rudy. Some of you may have seen it. It's a great movie. I love it. It's the story of Daniel Rudy Rudiger, a young man who has a dream to play football at Notre Dame. No accounting for taste, but we'll forgive that for the moment. Rudy had two problems with that dream. The first problem is his academics were not going to cut it. He didn't have the grades or the coursework to get into Notre Dame. The second one, Rudy was not built like any football player I've ever seen, and I've seen a bunch. He was built kind of like me, short and insignificant.
You're not short.
Compared to football players, yes I am. Not short compared to Altuve. So, but he had a dream. He had a dream, and he went to work on it. He went to a junior college, studied hard, got tutors, reapplied to Notre Dame, got rejected. Went back to work, studied hard, went to the priest there at Notre Dame, applied again, got rejected. This went on for a while. He was despondent. He'd gotten to the end of his rope. And he applied again. He went back to that priest. He prayed. He talked to the priest and said, maybe it's prayer. And the priest says, no, you've got prayer down. You pray more than anybody I've ever seen. And the young Rudy Rudiger said, Father, is there anything you can do for me? And the priest said, perhaps some of the most profoundest words I've ever heard. And I know it's a movie, but they still resonate. He said, in all his time in the priesthood, all his years, and he was an older gentleman, he said there's only two facts he's ever come across that are indisputable. First one is, there is a God. The second one is, I'm not him. And that's the struggle. Habakkuk, whoever he was, written probably around 600 BC, with the struggle. Looks like it's right before the Babylonian exile, so there's a prophetic voice there. One that says God will use the Babylonians for God's punishment. Not sure how I feel about that. But what does resonate, and I think it'll resonate with everyone here, is how often do we wake up, we look at the landscape around us and go, how long? Every time there's another shooting, how many of us go, how long are we going to deal with this injustice? Every time we hear another story from the border, we ask ourselves, when is this going to end? stories go on, and they're paralyzing if you let them. The scripture points to some of this. You hear the words about injustice, and that's really the focal point of this scripture. The prophet's going, how long? How long do we have to put up with this? How long, God, are you going to be absent? Are you going to not hear our cries? Words uttered through the ages. How long, O Lord? See, at that time, people are people. Empires are empires. And yes, they had the Torah, the law, handed down to Moses, the Levitical code. They knew what God wanted, and yet, even then, injustice prevailed. The wealthy landowners, the power brokers, continue to gain more power while the poor continue to suffer. The guilty went unpunished, the innocent cast to the side. And the prophet cries out, how long, O Lord? It's almost too easy to read this scripture and not hear our own voices. How long are our headlines going to be brutal? How long is there going to be war? How long are the homeless to be kicked to the side of the curb? How long are we to put up with child abuse and neglect? How long are people to not afford insulin? How long? The list goes on and on and on. But it is interesting to note that Paul himself will quote, the righteous will live by faith, as he writes in the book of Romans. We are called not to give up, but to persevere. To recognize the pain that is being suffered, but not to give up. It is easy in the midst of pain to go, where is God? You hear that after natural disasters. Where was God? Where was God? But closely, God was there. Personally, I know during Harvey, I know where God was. And every time I've seen it, there's always those who are living by faith, who will step up and show us a piece of the kingdom. Rudy will continue to work, will go to school, will reapply, and then one day he gets that acceptance letter. He's accepted. He's going to go to Notre Dame. And believe it or not, this small individual will one day don a uniform of the Notre Dame football team and play a couple plays on the field. It's a great sports story, but one that can also inspire. It's easy to give up. It's too easy to give up. But the righteous will live by faith. In light of whatever the world is doing, whatever injustice is occurring, we continue to follow Christ. To hear those words of gentleness, of love, to remind ourselves this is not our world, this is God's creation. And no matter how you dress it up, no matter how you phrase it, it really comes down to this. God's will, whatever that may be, will not be overcome. God's kingdom, whatever that looks like, will not be brought down. When we're feeling hopeless, when we're feeling despair, when we're feeling frustrated, when we cry out, my God, where are you at? How long must we suffer? The righteous will live by faith. And we will persevere, and we will go on. And one day, all of us will receive that glorious letter of acceptance. That God's kingdom is here, and we're part of it. I don't know about you. That's, to me, is something worth waiting on. Patiently, even. God's will not be overcome. Let us pray. Great and loving God, we do get frustrated. We are saddened. We find ourselves in despair. How do we forget that in all the universe and all of time, you're there? And that your will and your love will never be overcome. Gracious God, hold us up. Help us to persevere and to keep our eyes on you. That even in the midst of the pain, we know joy and love, and we have plenty to spare. All these things we pray in your name. Amen. Spend the next few minutes reflecting on where your frustrations are. Reflect on them. And get them out. Because God is still here.